Get strong.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's The Beautiful Bags podcast. I have a new bestie. Her name is Kimberly Coleman. It's so funny. We were just sitting here chatting, getting ready to talk, and we feel like we've known each other forever, which I love. So, Kimberly, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. So I think it's funny because, we met on Instagram like 2 weeks ago, and I just loved your energy, loved your story. And I was like, you know what? She has to be on this podcast. Like, she has to do it. I mean, by the time we put this out there, it'll be like, we'll be real best friends because it's about the way. But as of today, we are like new besties.
Yes, queen. Yes, we are.
I love it. So, let's get right into it. So, what brought you into the ostomy world? What is the story?
How I ended up with Toodles, which is my ostomy's name, was I was diagnosed with stage 2 rectal cancer in July of 2015. And after going through my first rounds of 6 weeks of oral chemo combined with 33 radiation treatments, I ended up having a bowel perforation and obstruction. And so they had told me prior that I was, after I had all the chemo radiation, I was going to have surgery and have like a 6-week ostomy while I recovered. And because I had the bowel perforation and obstruction, I ended up having, they asked me to keep my ostomy for 2 years. And then I had like 6 more months of chemo. And now Toodles and I are going on, in November, we will be together for 6 years. So I have chosen to keep her permanently. She's a great part of my life, and I'm thankful for her.
That is amazing. All right. So, and again, we're going to talk about more because we are best friends. We have so much in common. So, Toodles, where did you get the name Toodles?
Well, the first name was Fred. And I named it Fred in the hospital because my ostomy nurse was a guy, and my husband, when I woke up from my surgery, I had an emergency surgery. And so when I woke up, I had my ostomy in place, and they're both there, and my ostomy nurse is changing my bag, and I'm freaking out because, there's soup coming out, and husband's there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm waking up, like, what is happening? And they're both like so nonchalant, they're just like, oh, hey, great to see you. Yeah, you just changed in your ostomy. You should give it a name. The guy was like, you should give it a name. That way you can blame all the bad stuff on it. If you're in the line and it makes noise, you can be like, oh, whoever did this. So I was like, oh, I gave it the name Fred. So whenever I was somewhere and there was a noise or something, I'm like, oh, Fred.
Fred, right? It totally takes it away. It totally takes it away because I named mine Ivan after my surgeon. My surgeon's Ivan Curry, and I named mine Ivan. So I'm just like, oh, it's just Ivan. Oh, it's just Ivan, right? So it's great that we can do that because you can almost separate it from yourself, like separate. Because who talks poop, right? Who talks farts and poop? Well, we do now.
We do now. We love it. But then no. So that was a big deal, and just seeing how relaxed and chill about it. And then my husband was just in there helping to change it, and it was just such a comfortableness that I had developed a comfortableness. I had also done some research prior to getting it, so I had an idea of what it would be. But again, I thought it would be for 6 weeks, and so her name Toodles came about because I ended up becoming a burlesque performer a few years ago. With my ostomy.
Okay, we're going to talk about that too.
Yes, after my cancer battle with my ostomy, I became a burlesque performer. So she performs on stage with me. I have blinged out ostomy covers that match my outfit. And so I felt like she deserved a name that was befitting of her gloriousness. So Toodles, because it's toot toot and she's saying.
I love it, Toodles. I love it. It's such a fabulous name. It's such a fabulous name.
Yes.
So, all right. Now you're in an ostomy and you're doing burlesque shows. Like, yes. How did that come about? Have you always done them, or is it something new?
No, something totally new. Because when I was going through my battle, I was bedridden for a long time. I had to end up using a walker and things like that to get back on my feet. And so I started watching these pole dancers, pole performers on Instagram. And then I started watching burlesque. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful art form. And I just fell in love. And I was like, I would love, so I just set this goal, this random goal after watching. I was like, oh, I'm going to do like, before I turned 50, because I was 47 when I was diagnosed. And so this is probably when I was like 49 when I made this goal. And I was like, hey, 48, 49. And I say, hey, I'm going to dance in a burlesque. I'm going to perform in a burlesque show, and I'm going to do a pole competition. And
all right then.
Both of which I, and so I was just learning. I was just watching stuff and trying to imitate. And so that is what I did. Right before my 50th birthday in March of 2018, I just applied to be in this burlesque show in Bend, Oregon. They accepted me. They had no idea that I was an ostomate. So I had it covered because I still wasn't sure I wanted to show it. And I got out there and at some point just made the decision, that I was going to free myself. It was part of why I did burlesque and pole, because I wanted to reclaim my femininity. So I was doing things to get back into my body and just own it after all of the scars and alterations and physical loss, And so when I took that stage, it was about so much more for me. It was really just standing in that promise that I made to myself of reclaiming myself. And so right before, I always make a conscious decision before I reveal it on any show I do, even now, is that I make a choice whether I'm going to show it, because it's my choice to do that. And so I want to be empowered when I do it. And so it's always the moment of truth because I wear a corset. So no one has any idea I'm dancing around. No one announces that I'm a colorectal cancer or an ostomate. When I go on stage, I'm just a performer who has an ostomy. And so that moment comes where I take the corset off and I just drop it and I stand in the moment and let people take it in. Because it's always like this. People are cheering before and then they're just silent, like, what is that?
Yeah, like, how do they, like, you must have people coming up to you or saying like something like, how many people have come up to you after a show or even sometimes during a show going, what?
Yeah, well, it's been a great part of my advocacy. It was an accidental part of my advocacy. Again, I was trying to free myself. And after that show, like, my husband was in the audience, right? And so I take the corset off and the audience goes silent. And then all of a sudden, it just erupts. The crowd erupts because people get what it is. Some people get it. So after that show, nurses come up to me. They're like, oh my gosh, like, I am an ostomy nurse. I've never seen anybody embrace it. Like, wow. And one gentleman, he was like, I've had my ostomy. He was pretty young. He said, I've had my ostomy since I was 18. It's ruined my life. You just gave me a different perspective. And I had only had mine for like a year and a half. So I was like, wow. So after that, and people from the disability community came up to me. They were all in the audience, and it shaped my performances going forward. So it's every time after I get off stage, I'm in the audience, people come up and they share their stories with me. It's been a great community builder that way.
I just got the chills. So I'm sitting here and I literally just got the chills run through every part of my body, because it must truly fill you up to helping other people without realizing you were even helping other people. You were doing it to free yourself. You were doing it for yourself. But now the realization that you're helping people come to grips with it. Now, were you shocked with the amount of people in the audiences that quietly were telling you?
Yes, I was. I had not met anyone who had an ostomy up until that point. You know, it was just something that I had. And, you know, when I go to the wound ostomy nurse, you know, in the clinic or something, I didn't see other people. And just then being able to start connecting, it's like, oh, wow, you have an ostomy? Like, oh, and you've had it for 20 years or something like that. It was mind blowing to hear the nurses, excuse me, to hear the nurses especially relaying that they wanted to take this story back to their patients and let them know that the possibilities, you know, that just because you have this device, it doesn't mean it's the end. It actually is quite a beautiful beginning. It's been a beautiful beginning for me. It has been. It has been.
I'm talk about that. Right? Seriously. So, like, let's talk. Like, it has been. Now, how has it been such a beautiful beginning of you for you? Because one, you did burlesque after the ostomy. It wasn't something you did before. It's something you did after. So, what other beautiful things has it brought to you?
Well, first and foremost, it saved my life. You know, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you without it. And I'm so grateful. I've been able to experience 5 extra birthdays for my family, you know, for my husband and my kids. I've been able to have 5 extra anniversaries, and, you know, it's been amazing that way. And the beautiful thing has been the connection, because I think for a lot of people, when they get it, it can be isolating because they think no one understands. However, what I've come to learn with people like yourself and what you do, and what I do, is like, there's so many people out there who are wanting to connect and who understand the feeling of that you might feel alone, but it's so unnecessary to feel that way, because there's so many of us that are working that the stigma can be dropped and people can live. They can live. And whether they show their ostomy or not, it's a choice. You know, that's why I do this advocacy. It's not so everyone can show their ostomy. You don't have to do that.
Right. Like, some people say they don't, you know, they don't want to. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But at least they know they're not by themselves. They're not alone in this. You know, they have other people. And I think I'm shocked, personally, for myself, the amount of young people now that are in ostomies because of Crohn's and colitis and wanting to get off medications and things like that. I mean, I'm like you, cancer, right? So we had cancer, so ours, and we're the same age, so ours is a little different. But how about you? Have you seen? Was it shocking to you, the amount of people that were younger?
Yes, it was just shocking to me, the amount of people in general. You know, I think one time I Googled it and I was just like, oh my goodness. It just seems like it's so random and rare. You know, it's not. It's so commonplace. It's amazing the places I've gone, and, you know, like, Toodles will be acted up and I'm like, and I just tell people I have an ostomy. Like, I don't even blame it on Toodles anymore, because it is a part of me. I've owned it now. So now I'm just like, I have an ostomy. She likes to talk. She likes attention. You know, and so with that, it's allowing me to meet so many people. And yes, there are so many young people, and it's shocking. And I was also shocked at the amount of middle-aged people like
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Um, it's such a burgeoning community.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Nope. At all, right? So when you
No
first,
clue.
no clue, right? So you said you did a little bit of research before you had your ostomy. Um, what were you thinking going into it?
Well, the only experience I had with an ostomy is I feel like I had an older relative or
Mm-hmm.
someone older that I might have seen when I was a kid that had one, and it was like super long and hanging, all the way down their leg, and I was like, well, that's what I presume. I still had that
Mm-hmm.
old, antiquated idea of an ostomy, so I was like, well, let me search this thing up. I'm going to have it for 6 weeks. I'm going to look at it, get familiar with it. And then the first images that came up I remember a man in a swim trunk and a woman in a bikini, and they were on a beach, and I was like, what? It blew my mind because I was like, first, is that the ostomy? It's small. It's smaller than I remembered. Second, you're on the beach, like in a bikini. It was such a positive. I'm so glad I saw that first
Mm-hmm.
because it was such a positive image. Because I've always had that in my mind, and that's what I wanted my page to be. That wasn't the beginning of how I wanted I just wanted my page to be freeing me.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, like I just remembered what a wonderful image that was to have it populate first.
I think that's,
Like just
yeah, I could see
yeah,
that.
so
I
that
could
type
see
of
that.
it helps, and now people are on Instagram searching for people like yourself and like me, and are like, oh, I needed to see this. I don't even have a bag yet, but it's a possibility, and I just needed to see what it was like. So they're in the same position.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, go to Instagram, hashtag ostomy, and you're going to be amazed at what you see. The amount of people that are just out living lives in bikinis all over the place, swim trunks all over the place. Like they're everywhere. It's like, and I think it's great. I think it's great now. It's one of the best
Yeah,
things I think about social media is that it allows us
yeah,
to free ourselves, right?
yeah,
Because that's why we do some things. It's to free ourselves, but then it also allows others to see, oh, I can go on with life. I can live life in a better way or a positive way or whatever. So you said you made the choice to keep it permanent. Did I hear that right? So why?
um, it's like again, I was just so grateful for it. So I didn't have this animosity, and I did not want another surgery. It was that one surgery that it was so much for me to come back from, and I just didn't want another surgery, and I was grateful for it, and it was serving the purpose. I'm like, hey, it serves the purpose. Um, and I've
Mm-hmm.
had many complications. Like for the first 2 years, I was hospitalized a lot, and I still have blockages weekly with it. However, um, I've learned to manage with it, and I know it's just a part of me. It's a part of me now.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Someone shared it because blockages are very natural, like for us, right? So someone shared. I haven't tried it, but they said drink a bottle of Coca-Cola, straight Coca-Cola. It helps break down the blockage. And I'm like, well, straight Coca-Cola will take paint off of a car.
I've heard that one.
Right?
I I've also used like tequila and like a brown liquor.
Okay.
Those are great, especially if you interchange them with hot tea.
Okay.
It helps to break it down. Those are my because I have blockages like weekly.
Okay.
And so I try so many things because my body becomes immune to things. So I used to use green juice. that's wonderful for, oh, that used to clear my blockages right at.
Uh-huh.
So I have to just keep interchanging and trying new things. I've tried the Coke one. That worked okay for me, but that's how blocked up I get. I've had a bottle of
Okay.
magnesium citrate and nothing.
It's
So yeah.
nothing. Yeah. And again, it's those, so those are some things that we always have to be aware of.
Hmm.
Our blockages. And I think some people are like, well, why do you get blockages? Um, I know for myself, it's the adhesions from the surgery that have wrapped themselves on the outside of my intestines. That's why sometimes I get them. And when I eat things like fibrous foods, kale, broccoli, things like that will slow it down, will get stuck. They literally will get stuck. So I know I need to stay away from those foods. Um, you know, now you say you get them weekly. Is it food related? Have you figured out, different things from that, or?
Well, it's like, I'm always trying, like I said, I'm on a constant search to
Mhm.
find things that work with my body. And so as I evolve, I notice my body evolves and what I can tolerate changes too. So even from the things I used to be able to eat that eat now, some things I cannot eat, you
Mhm.
know. And so I've just found that trying to chew a lot in smaller portions and yeah, like a lot of liquid if I
A lot of
can.
liquid, a lot of water, a lot of water. I think people are now realizing that it's harder for us to stay hydrated, which
It is
again,
so
hydration
hard.
will help push everything through. That's one of the biggest jobs, is pushing everything through. It's so hard to stay hydrated as much as we need to
Oh,
be.
yeah, because I suffer with chronic constipation, which they call obstipation. And so, ever since I used to be a huge water drinker prior to chemo and all of that, but once I had chemo, it just has changed my relationship with water. So I'm working to heal that relationship. So now I carry around a jug if I can remember, because it's hard for me like you said, get hydrated and stay hydrated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think
It's
that's
something
what's
that we
caused.
constantly have to be on.
Yeah, I feel like I need an IV just attached to me all day, like like the IV fluid. Like
just
just have
just hook
that
me
all
up.
day.
Just hook me up. I know, because I'll tell you, walking around with a water bottle all the time, or always like water, water. I don't know about you, but I'm like, ugh, water. But I
I
need it, and I make sure I log to make sure that I get a gallon in a day. I log
know.
it
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah. I
like, at
used to
least
do.
I need
I've
that.
done that.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. Oh
it's,
my gosh.
it's and those oral IV hydration packets are really good, like Drip Drop
Mhm.
and I forgot the other ones, but you can even make them with pink Himalayan sea salt. I've done all of that. I've done all of it, and it's
Yeah.
it's just a constant thing.
Yep, it is. So people know, all right, I'm getting a blockage. I can't get hydrated. I'm going to go to Kimberly. Kimberly, what should I be doing? Like,
I know
you
I need
tried
to put up
every,
a list.
you do. Here's Kimberly's list of how to stay hydrated. Or Kimberly, right? Here, try it all. I've tried it all. You try it all. Right? Give it a try.
It's funny, and I have, because it's when people inbox me, they generally will inbox me that, and I'll like send all these lists, and I forget to put it on my social media, like, hey, here's a list of things to try. Thank you for
Yep.
reminding me. I'm to remember to put
There
those
you go.
types
You'll
of
have to
lists.
do it and then tag it as a highlight. So it's
Yes,
it's up in your highlights. So every time they just can go there, just tag it right there. Just like right in my highlights.
brilliant, brilliant. Yes,
One and
queen.
done. I am all about simplifying
I
everything.
love it, love it, love it, love it.
Gotta
I'm gonna do
simplify it
that.
all. Good girl. Good
Yes,
girl. So
yes.
we have learned a lot. So, and I could literally sit here and talk to you forever. But let's just say, if there was one thing that you would want to leave the listeners with, what would that be?
Gratitude, grieving, and gratitude. Um, when you go through body altering traumas or diseases or any of those things, anything that alters you and your relationship with your body, I feel like people should be allowed to grieve that. I grieved parts of my body that had been removed, that my body was no longer the same. I grieved. And that grieving actually paved the way for my healing. But a lot of us are told, be happy about it right away. And it's a process. So I would say healing is each person's individual process. And what we do as advocates is we put out things so that you can grab things along and put them in your toolbox. So when you want to use them in your process, whether you're grieving, whether you're coming through the grieving, whether you're now finding joy and finding peace, all of those things are there. So I feel like for each person to honor their process with their body and with their things that they're going through, and to remember that you're not alone. There's a community of people out there who have such pure hearts and they want to help and they want to uplift. And so that we don't have to go through these things alone when we do come out so shiny and wonderful. But even when we're not shiny and wonderful, when we're feeling and we're grieving and we're sad, that we don't have to feel alone. There's so many resources out there, like cancer therapy and community groups and advocates like you and I. And there's so many resources that will help you along that process of healing, your healing journey of life.
Oh, you just gave me the chills again. That is great, great advice. And Kimberly, lastly, if anyone wants to find you, connect with you, where should they go?
All of my social media is the same, at Kimberly H. Coleman. I'll spell that at KIMBERLYH Coleman, COLEMAN.
I love
TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah, I love it. So guys, go over there and find Kimberly on all three of those platforms and get yourself uplifted for sure. Uplifted, not lifted. Uplifted for sure. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here with us this week.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Anne. Thank you for being my new best friend. It has just been an honor to talk with you, and I love your page. I love what you're doing. I'm so glad that we are now following each other and supporting each other through this Ostomy journey. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure being here with you today. I appreciate it. It's been great.
So you're so welcome. You're so welcome.